By George, I think I've got it.
Hybrothetical Thinking.
I saw that Bigfoot walking across the screen and I thought to myself, wow, they are real.
I ask us all, is that really reasonable?
Hybrothetical Thinking.
My personal belief is that there is very compelling evidence that we may not be alone.
I'll show you a little of the evidence for it.
Hybrothetical Thinking.
Researchers at Stanford University School of Medicine have pioneered a cancer vaccine that eliminated all traces of cancer in mice.
You could find evidence of that, my friends. You could change the world.
Hybrothetical Thinking, a podcast for the hypothetical thinker.
Greetings, travelers, and welcome to Hybrothetical Thinking, a semi-informative podcast that explores the journey from probability to possibility. My name is Nick Floyd, and I'm joined by my co-hosts.
I'm Taylor Nelson.
I'm Johnny Clark.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Why didn't Nick go into that crazy rant about Johnny's anatomy at the beginning?
What?
I was wondering the same exact thing.
Me too, actually.
There was no butthole slammed in there.
Oh, well, you see, Taylor, you're right. I've realized that I have a problem.
Problem?
The problem isn't the lack of improvisation skills or the repetition week to week.
Of course not.
It's my constant use of the word butthole.
Yeah.
Oh, I was spot on.
That's a problem.
I brown spotted it.
Why does it always end with Johnny's butthole?
Yeah, what's your fascination with my ass, Nick?
It's a simple question with a simple answer, Johnny.
Uh-oh.
There are a lot of words in the English language.
Yeah.
Swear words, awkward word combos, and words that people didn't even think existed. But this word, this special word, is a combination of two seemingly harmless words that when combined will make a grown man quiver.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ew.
And Johnny falls under the category of the grown men
who quivers.
that quiver at the sound of the word.
I don't like it.
Butthole.
I don't like it.
It is a nasty word, dude. It's a gross word. I don't know why either. I don't necessarily quiver.
Okay, when you say the
It
word
instantly
quiver,
makes me think of nasty shit.
Well, of all the words that have been said on the podcast, this is the one that causes Johnny and maybe other listeners the most discomfort.
Yeah.
Even after 24 episodes.
Yeah. But many episodes you said butthole, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you the word butt actually refers to not just the human anus, but a cask for wine, the trunk of a tree, the stub of a cigarette, or an archery shooting target.
A butt?
Yeah.
Like the butt of a gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
A shooting target? An actual
But you're
target?
You're not talking about the shooting target.
Yeah, I'm not. You're right. But today,
I thought the hole in a cast was called a bung hole.
Yeah, I've heard of a bunghole.
well,
Bung hole.
the research I did on Wikipedia said that the cask for wine is a butt.
A butthole.
Yeah, it's a butthole.
Tight. Well, I guess a bunghole and a butthole,
Not
I mean,
tight.
we use interchangeably. And I guess the fact that you omitted the word butthole from the intro, I mean, we just
Can we stop
we just said
saying
butthole about 30 times.
Can we stop saying the word butthole?
Well, it's not over yet because today I'm going to do something wild. It's going to be so uncomfortable and so unnecessary that a lot of people will ask, did he just do that? And they're only 24 episodes in?
Wait, what the fuck are you
So just humor me for a minute.
Oh, my word.
Okay.
Greetings, travelers, and welcome to Hybrothetical Thinking, a semi-informative podcast that explores the journey from probability into Johnny's butthole, out Johnny's butthole, back into Johnny's butthole, into his lower thigh to rest quietly until it travels back to his butthole for one final exit out his butthole. My name's Nick Floyd, and I'm joined by my wonderful and very patient co-hosts.
And I'm Taylor Nelson.
I can't tell Taylor. My headphones are off right now because I cannot have that word in my ear that many times. That is atrocious. My headphones are going back on now. Hey, Taylor, I hope you said your name because my name is Jonathan Clark, and we're not going to say that word again.
Fair.
Possible.
Why do you keep saying that word?
The way this works is either Taylor or myself will do the research for our weekly episodes, and Johnny, sweet Johnny,
Don't say it. Just say McJohnister.
McJohnster
Thank
goes
you.
into every episode completely blind, like Daredevil, except we haven't had a movie and a TV show based on us.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating concept. Thanks.
Yeah, Taylor. How you doing today, Taylor?
I'm doing okay, Nicka. It's been a short week for me. I'm not going to tell these people what day it is. It's been a short week. I've spent a little time outside doing some yard work. It's been a beautiful week here in Atlanta. I actually cut a fucking trail. I was mowing the yard this week, right? And I mow the yard all the time because grass needs to be mowed. But in our backyard, we live on the power lines, and we keep our power lines nice and clean. It's all grass, beautiful grass. But all of our neighbors, they don't ever mow it. They like mow to the edge of their yard and then just let it grow up in the power lines. So what did I do? I took my fucking mower and I mowed a meandering path down these power lines. So now I have like an extra probably 100 yards that I can walk. Just a sweet meandering path through the
That's
brush.
rad.
It's fucking tight.
Super rad.
I can see birds and whatnot.
It's a whole new world of sorts.
How y'all doing? What you guys do this week?
Every single week, hey, damn it, Nick. Every single week
Sorry.
when Nick asks you how your news is, you have a story. Once again, I don't. I'm doing good though. Everything's fine. Everything's great. Hybro stuff's going well. Nick, how are you doing?
You know, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like $1 million. You know, I'm just
$1 million.
I'm feeling good.
Doll hairs?
Yeah. $1 million.
Just said doll hairs. All right, I got. Okay, so that quote. Do you guys know where that quote is from?
Doll hairs?
You just said doll hairs.
Nick-
The Little Rascals, right?
No,
Oh.
Nick
I
said
don't
it-
know. Maybe that's an original quote, but that's not where I'm thinking of.
Nick said it like 3 days ago at lunch, and I said that's dumb. That's the last time. Only time I
Doll
heard it.
hairs.
This
Isn't
is
it-
probably the most quoted quote, dude. Like,
What?
it's near the top of the list of all these quotes that I hear out of movies.
No,
Everyone says that shit, right?
I've never heard it.
You've never heard it in a movie?
I've never heard it ever. I don't think. And then the first time I heard it was Nick. Like 2 weeks ago, or 2 days ago.
Oh shit!
I hear people say it all the time. Maybe
wait.
because I say it around people. Maybe that's why.
I think I know where it came
wait,
from.
all right, wait, Taylor.
It's such a weird source, dude. It doesn't even make sense. Nobody even likes this movie except for me. Maybe you guys. I don't know, Nick. What do you think it is?
Isn't it the David Spade movie, right?
Nope.
I don't know.
It's not Joe Dirt. What?
Say what is it?
It's a Shia LaBeouf movie.
Oh shit! Shut
Get
up.
outta here.
Shia
Is it
LaBeouf.
Disturbia? Is it Transformers?
You're gonna have to dig deep for this one, dude.
Is
Like,
it
he
Halls?
basically plays his same character from Even Stevens, basically.
dig
Dig
deep,
deep, y'all. He
Constantine? Oh, it's the same.
wears. He's a mascot for the school.
Dumb
Oh,
and Dumber.
Shit!
Yeah, dude.
Yeah!
Dumb and Dumber, I guess is the one it is. It's a quote from that fucking movie, dude. And somehow, nobody likes that movie. I love that movie. I
It's
like
great.
that movie. It's
I
a
know
good
somebody who's in that movie.
movie. So do I.
Really?
Dude, it was actually shot about 15 minutes down the road from me.
Yeah.
Most of the movie.
That's
Yeah, actually, chick I went to high school with is
small
on
world.
the front cover.
And Doll Hair is in that movie?
Really?
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
she's a cheerleader. Yeah, she's in like the opening scene. Shit, like passes by the guys really quick in one of the opening scenes. Just super hot cheerleader, and then she is the featured cheerleader on the cover. She's very
Wow.
small. You can't tell it's her. You just tell that it's a cheerleader, and that was probably her.
Wow, what a small cameo.
I just think that's a weird quote to come from a movie that nobody likes except for very few people. Yeah, that quote it remains. I don't know.
That's
Maybe
crazy.
you listeners out there haven't heard that quote enough, and if you haven't, if anybody's like questioning, it's a money situation. Hey, can I borrow $5 or whatever? Or you owe me $5. It's just like you just said doll, or they have to say dollars, obviously.
Wait.
Yeah. Doll hairs.
You have to say,
They have to say
$5?
dollars, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Can I have
you say,
$5?
you said doll hairs, and you can give them doll hair, I guess, and it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Just carry doll hairs in your
It
wallet.
somehow works. It's funny. I don't care. I don't
Okay.
care who you are. That shit's
Okay.
funny.
Okay.
So if our listeners can find the history of that, the secret history of where the doll hairs joke came from, please email us at hybrothoughts@gmail.com. Okay. So I got some news for you guys today.
Okay.
Okay.
Things got weird in August.
Wait, what's
Don't they always?
Is this August?
August. It is August.
It
Yeah.
burns
Okay,
an
end-
ember,
end of the August.
The amber of my soul. So on August 7th, a YouTube video went viral because it featured one of the craziest diamond heists in history.
Diamond House?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking full-on Ocean's 11
Oh, wow.
diamond heist.
All right.
I'm talking Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise
Tomuel?
diamond heist.
Okay.
Tommy LaCrusade.
A New York gem dealer was sitting at his desk minding his own business when the bandit jumped right in front of him, just inches away, and took the diamond right in front of his face. And there was nothing he could do about it. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know if he was called the police. He didn't know who to call.
You know who to call.
He never thought in the history of his gem dealing career that this would happen.
Okay.
And I bet a lot of you are thinking, well, how did that happen? Why didn't he just like slap it out of the person's hand?
Yeah.
Well, because
Wasn't it also a case where this diamond was like bigger than the perpetrator's body even?
I would say.
Is the diamond not a diamond? Is it diamond a person?
The person was not a person. The person was an ant.
Yeah!
Wait, an ant stole a diamond?
An ant with pincers?
Yep, an ant was. There was a New York City gem dealer was sitting at his desk, and he was like weighing diamonds.
Yeah, he was like whatever.
Some of the real small ones, and this ant just
cutting them.
rolls up over to the diamond, picks it up, and just is walking casually across the desk.
Man, it feels good to be a gangster.
Now, my wife is not going to believe what I'm going to bring back to the anthill.
And can't they hold like 10 times their body weight or something like that?
Yes.
Is that the number I'm thinking of? 10 times their body weight? I mean,
100 times.
Oh, it's 100 times?
It's 100 times their mass.
Factor of 10. I mean, that's what? If an ant's like, that's not a huge diamond anyways.
I mean, it's a big diamond.
100 ants.
know, I mean,
100 ants is not that heavy. Well, what an ant? Is it a carpenter ant? Is it like a fire ant?
So.
Because there are different ants that are bigger or smaller. Because there are some ants that are pretty hefty.
I don't know the
So
ant
it's really
species.
only that would just determine how big this diamond is? Bigger than
Yes.
ant just means bigger than diamond? Just,
Yeah, it could hold more. I think that's probably, I don't know. Does a bigger ant mean it can hold more? I don't know. Regardless,
well, 10 times its own body weight, yeah.
how much was the diamond? Did it cost?
I don't have the value of the diamond nor the weight of the diamond. I just know the diamond exists.
Do you have the species of the ant, or the
I
weight
al-
of the ant, or the color of the ant?
Do you have the color of the diamond? Is it clear? Is it,
The color of the diamond,
Okay.
or the color of the
Clear?
diamond is a diamond.
well,
Diamond colored, which is no color? Oh, is
But
it true that when you shine iridescent light or fluorescent light on a diamond, it shines like a certain color, and that's how you know if it's real or fake?
there's a certain way a diamond cutter can find out. I don't know exactly if it's a light source or what, because I've seen people do it with like just like a eyeglass. They can look through it and
Right.
see. There's like a little small like a spectacle. Or
I
whatever
think that
it's
has
called,
to
monocle.
do with like how sweet the cuts are and how pure it is. Like, and if it's like shitty cuts, then it's obviously not a real diamond. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the cut should be extremely sharp and clean because it's cut with a diamond. I guess.
Yeah.
Cut
It makes
with another
sense. Like a
diamond?
plastic like diamond replica or whatever would obviously not be as like
You see it all
exact as a.
It'd be like porous and shit. And yeah, like not straight lines, not straight vertices. I guess I don't know.
You know what's weird to me? That this is just me, but like, you know, the weight of something, the monetary value of something is determined on its like rarity, right?
Right, yeah.
Like obviously, like moon rocks would technically be cost a lot more than like iron in
Yeah, you think?
in the earth. But there are planets out there that are made up predominantly of diamond. So we only give a shit about it because right here on Earth, it's like hard to find. But
Well,
there
apparently
are,
it's not even hard to find. Like it's not rare. Diamonds are just not rare on Earth. Apparently,
not?
it's just like a fabricated rareness.
so why?
Yeah, man. If you need to watch some videos on blood diamonds, bro. Apparently, like the diamond was not even a sought after deal. Like back in the day, like colored gems were much more popular because they're prettier. You know, and it was somewhere recently, like in the last 100 years, that diamonds became like an engagement ring. Basically, it was basically a really good salesman. Was like, this is what it means to be engaged. If you're not treating your girl right if you don't get her your diamond.
Yeah.
And then
She
it's
gonna
just
leave
a
you.
sales ploy. It's a marketing thing. And now, like, how many companies is it De Beers and like how many other few companies? It's like a Disney situation. Like they own all the fucking diamonds and they buy them all up and they keep them
Yeah.
and they release them in small amounts.
Well, it's like gold, you know? You can get things made out of 24 karat gold where, 24 karat gold in some places, in some markets, it costs a shit ton. And then you have
Yeah.
24 karat gold that are items or like pop toys or whatever that cost, $20. It's like, but it's 24 karat gold. How can you only sell it for $20?
It's also
all hairs.
Well,
Yeah.
it also the density of like the actual material, because you can like coat something and like there's
Right.
I think in blood diamond
Electroplating.
is in blood diamond that he has a AK-47 that's like coated in gold, but like that is so cheap to do versus like a block of 24 karat gold is obviously way more expensive because of the density
Right.
and the actual like.
I guess one of the cool things about gold, like we talked about in the NASA stuff, is that you can spin it so thinly, where
Yeah.
so you can sheet something in gold that's like insanely thin,
Yeah.
but it still looks like it's full gold.
But that's the thing is like I don't find maybe it's because I've seen it. I just sound like an asshole. Maybe because like it's the staple first place or whatever. But like there's the medals that we give and elements we give, validity that are so sought after. I just don't. It doesn't get me off. Like diamonds, I'm not like, oh my god, that's so awesome. I think it's cool. It's like black rock or like volcanic rock. That's like super intricate and like maybe like prehistoric mud. Those things are like weird, not like bronze. I don't know. Does that
Yeah,
just
give me something made out of volcanic rock.
Yeah, that's gonna be badass. Like with like veins that had like magma or lava in it. That's way cooler than like a piece of granite. I don't know.
Black granite.
Give me amber. I want like
Dude,
an
yeah,
amber.
with a little mosquito in
hell
it, dude.
yeah.
Oh, it's so baller. Like
Yeah,
I've
we can buy
told
that
some of my
any day.
friends, like 100%. Once I do like ask my Australian fine girlfriend to marry me, that I'm definitely not gonna give her a diamond. I'm gonna give her something way more cool and creative and probably more rare, like some kind of a meteorite.
But for some reason, that's not more expensive. It's weird.
Yeah,
moon
because
rock.
it's controlled, man. It's all
You should
it's
tell.
fabricated, and some marketing dude was a genius.
I went to the moon to get you this moon rock.
And I was where I learned about this marketing thing in the same little spiel that I watched. I guess it was a video. I don't know, because I don't read. I don't know if it was the same guy, but it was around the same time where like bacon was not a breakfast food. Bacon was just bacon. You eat it at dinner, you eat it whenever, but it wasn't necessarily a breakfast food. And some shortage of things or some reasoning like, we need to sell more bacon. It was marketed as this breakfast food, and it was like the essential breakfast item, and it now it's a breakfast item. You don't even. Of course,
weird.
bacon's good on everything. You put it in gosh darn near everything, but
it's marketed.
And I've heard the same thing about the color pink and blue. Like before, I want to say the 40s or something. There was a specific president who's I want to say Reagan's wife or something. Like basically made pink a woman's color.
Yeah.
Like
I heard
before
about this.
that, it was not a woman's color.
Yeah.
It was just a color, and it's a nice, vibrant color.
Yep.
But she pretty much assigned like pastel pinks to
for
women and pastel blues to boys. Very weird.
which is
Wow.
It's a weird concept, but I've heard about that same exact thing. But I think you can assign colors to everything, whether it's a mood, ability, an idea. It's like every single thing, but I assign it to like a type of people or like a different species. It's fascinating.
Well, speaking of different species, the ant, because when ants pick specific things up, they bring them back to
home.
their colonies as building materials.
Yeah. Look how awesome my building
Sweet ass
material is,
coffee
dude.
table.
Yeah. So this ant, this specific ant, went on an adventure to. He said. Maybe it was like a rite of passage or something. And it's like, all right, Randy, you got to go. If you bring back a diamond, you'll be the king of the ant colony.
King of the ants.
And he's like, all right, I'll do it. I know exactly where to go. This guy's real fucking dumb. He's
not even looking. He's not thinking about me.
He'll take his phone out and video it because he's gonna think it's cute.
But how could you imagine that something so insignificant? I would never have it because you're assuming perpetrators are going to be like 6 foot tall with muscle, and they're gonna steal your diamond, not an insignificant insect.
I would just let it happen.
But
if I saw the ant making the effort, I'd be like, take it.
I don't know. It didn't start stealing all of your fucking diamonds. How are you gonna explain that to the IRS?
It was the ants.
Yeah.
It was the.
All right, buddy. Hands behind the back.
But it wasn't me. It was the ants.
There's like a hole in the wall that's just full of diamonds. Really weird.
That's what they're stressing. That's the best safe ever.
It's crazy.
That's a good point.
I think you got to prove a point. Like you have to. If you let the ant get away with one, that ant's gonna come back for the rest.
Man, if you could just train ants, just let them loose on a Diamonds Are Forever store. Fuck, clean that bitch out.
Oh my gosh.
So
Can you train an ant?
I don't know if you can train an ant, but I was reading something the other day. Yeah, I read it. I did read it. I've read it before. I've heard it before. Watched videos on this before where people can train crows and ravens and different birds of that type to not only pick up trash. I read something recently where they were training them to pick up trash at like an amusement park. But one thing I read in the past was this dude was training, it was either pigeons or crows, to fly around New York City and pick up shiny objects like coins, pieces of jewelry, and basically fly it back to these certain spots that he had. And it was basically like a gumball machine type thing where you drop something in and it will give food out. So that he had trained these birds to go pick up shiny objects.
Yeah.
Hopefully, each pellet of food is worth less than like a penny, and then, hey, we're making money.
Isn't that how they actually, isn't that a thing they did in the medieval times? Because they were already training crows and stuff to bring letters, which to me, that blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like the fact that crows be like, fly to Winterhelm and deliver this letter to the tallest tower. And the crow's like,
Well, I think the idea behind that is, I'm not sure specifically, but I think these birds would be like, I guess there's a place in your kingdom where you have several birds' cages where it's like, okay, this bird's from Winterfell, this bird is from High Ridge, this bird is from Yonderfall, or whatever, and they're always in those cages, but when they're let out of the cages, they're just going to go straight back to where they're from, I guess. I guess that's the idea.
It's still fascinating, though, because they're carrying precious, not monetary cargo, but like these just birds that have the brains the size of your thumb are carrying information to like start a war or like have a treaty. Like that's very important information. And a knight on a horseback rather than like a fucking bird, like that shit could get shot down.
I just realized now that Twitter is essentially
oh my god
a bird carrying system. That's what the bird and the logo means.
African European swallow.
I mean, a little birdie told me.
Yeah, it's a reference.
Anyway,
there's a reference. Yeah. We're going to take this nice little break time to allow you guys to caffeinate on what we hope is Death Wish coffee. It's the world's strongest coffee. You can get it today at deathwishcoffee.com. That is deathwishcoffee.com. We can talk about animal conspiracies at a later date, but today, Taylor, you're going to provide us with something.
I'm gonna provide us with some ponderation fuel.
Ponderation.
Our Pondalassi will be off the charts today. Just gonna present some simple ideas that you've probably heard before, but man, it's just fucking fun to think about. And I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast much, so hey, why not? So here we go.
Oh.
In this natural world of wonders. I'm gonna start that over. In this natural world of wonders, it is generally agreed upon that the possibility of once accepted knowledge can be, and from time to time, has been lost. The famous Stigler's Law of Eponymy states that no scientific discovery is named after the original discoverer, and in most cases, the first discoverer is almost completely forgotten. While the person who rediscovers and popularizes the idea becomes celebrated. This idea itself is said to be first presented by Robert K. Martin even years earlier. One great example of this is the Pythagorean theorem. It was first mentioned in Euclid's Elements, but is attributed to Pythagoras, which came about much later. And there are even records from 1800 BC that demonstrate that the Egyptians had knowledge and use of this theorem as well. And it got me thinking about like shit today, like knowledge can definitely be fucking lost, man.
Heck yeah.
And it got me thinking about like shit today where even people our dad's age, when they're in school, they were studying shit, especially in science. I feel like they were studying things that were more concrete sciences, and they understood things as concrete science, and they were probably forced to understand things a little bit more just because of how rigid shit was back then.
Than today?
Yeah, I feel like today, like I myself, I feel like I'm a smart guy. You guys are smart guys. You know, we feel like we understand some of the ways of the world, but I feel like some of the questions that we ask demonstrate that we don't have some of this basic knowledge that was required of our parents to have.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know if like society just doesn't deem that these things are even relevant for everyone to know.
It's
like
the specifics.
The specifics of everything. Like the specifics of electricity. Like we have been around electricity our entire fucking lives, right? Not a moment has passed that we haven't been immersed in it. But it's really hard for people. Like it's hard. Yeah, it's hard for us to grasp.
Like
it's hard for us to talk about,
volts.
understand it. You know.
Well, it's all about caring. I think it's literally about let's say little Susie goes, "Well, I want to be a veterinarian. Why do I need to learn about
Yeah.
electricity.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
me, I want to go to film school. Why do I need to know about
Math.
the theory of da-da-da, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I guess it's exactly what it is. Probably, people need to be more specialized. So why even tread in that water? But I don't know. I think they're just basic things that would, like light bulbs, would probably be popping off on more people's heads if they had a more basic understanding of things.
Right.
Especially things like electricity, which are happening around us all the time, and is somewhat mysterious.
And our parents, like, they had very specific, our parents were going to be doctors. They were going to work in retail. They were going to work in the government. Or they were going to be in the military.
Exactly.
Like, it was very specific. Whereas now it's like, social media, marketing, management,
Art.
retail, art,
Right.
entertainment. It's just like, what?
There are things that not only they didn't teach back then, but I think as a whole, our generation, like, a lot of us didn't want to know all those basic necessities of amperage, electricity, mathematics, history. We didn't need that because we were like set in our ways. We know what we want to do. Why do we need to know all the building blocks that makes you, normal, smart human?
That's fucking weird. And
we
you
don't even
name
know
all,
about
like,
cars. Like, no one knows about
right,
cars.
yeah, we don't even know about cars. But like our parents' age, that was like almost just ingrained. Like that was just something they knew. Whereas I guess we're more into like GUI interfaces and user interfaces, where we can get in front of an interface of a very complicated machine and we can navigate our way through it pretty much no problem.
So what's more important then?
I don't know. I guess they're both. I think they're probably both important. I think our ability to navigate a user interface displays intelligence for sure, and that we probably have the ability to understand a whole lot more if we were just presented with this information the right way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe because I've seen videos where people like in LA or in New York will like a newscaster or some like YouTuber will like pull out a sign or a map of the world and it's like, where's this country? Or is Africa a country or continent? And they're like, a state. I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
But that same person could be like a microbiologist and like knows the shit about science, just doesn't know nothing about like geography.
Right. So I guess on one edge of the sword, it's like, maybe it's not a bad thing. These people are specializing and they're getting super good at whatever groove that they're in. But then on the other side, it's like a lot of knowledge could be lost, because what if that person is the one who's going to have that breakthrough thought that all these other people just aren't having, but all these other people have the foundation to, progress that thought if they could have the thought.
Yeah.
So if just more people had this basic foundation and knowledge on certain things, and I guess, what I'm thinking of is electricity, because it seems to be so mysterious to people. And it's something I care about. I even started going to college for it. And I feel like I wanted to understand it, but I just don't. And I don't know. I want to. I just don't. I just don't fucking get it. I want to. Somebody please explain it. If one of the listeners out there is a electrical engineer who can put it in really dumb language for me, like, help me. I want to know. I don't want to be an idiot. But this whole thing got me on, lost knowledges, potential, things that may have been known in the past that aren't known anymore. And one of the most talked about pieces of seemingly forgotten knowledge is the potential mechanical uses of the Great Pyramid at Giza.
Oh shit!
Wow.
You're talking about like Egyptians.
The Egyptians.
Talking about
maybe not even the Egyptians, but
aliens.
Yeah, we're talking about the shit that's in Egypt that they could claim ownership of, I guess, and we couldn't say anything about.
Harnessing powers that we don't even know that was possibly electronically super advanced way back then.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah,
absolutely.
Dude.
And it's possible that they're not even super advanced because by definition it was way back then. So how can it be super advanced? We have this, belief and just we assume that like everything else that evolves, because we do believe in evolution, that I'm assuming we do.
Well,
that everything moves forward, and while there were times like the Dark Ages, like knowledge should always be built upon. Right? So how could we forget such massive things? It's mind-blowing.
But then again, episode 22, you talked about like the guy who was like harnessing like gravity and able to like figure out sound waves that would change Coral Castle up to 22. So like I would argue that there are certain people that have the knowledge that just don't spread that shit. I would see the Egyptians as well.
I don't think people...
That's a good way to put it.
I felt this when we talked about Coral Castle and like crop circles even then. Is I think the advancement of technology only advances in the direction it needs to.
Okay.
So, like I look up now and I see light bulbs in our ceiling. Like light bulbs are still light bulbs. Light bulbs did what light bulbs have always done for a long time. Why has that not advanced in the direction of, okay, light panels? Like why are our ceilings, why do they not have built-in lights? Like why are we still using bulbs if they cost as much as they do?
Well, what's fucking weird about that point that you just made is when I was studying the Coral Castle one, I came across this thing. There's apparently a light bulb. I want to say it's in New York City, in a fire station, I believe. We'd have to look this up. There's a bulb that is like 100 years old, and it has burned consistently since it was put in.
What?
Yeah, and the belief is that those bulbs, when they were made back then, were meant to last for potentially ever. And that at some point they're like, Edison is like, well, that's not going to work. GE or whoever, like, that's not going to work. We can't sell one bulb per person. We have to sell a bulb every couple of months to this person for every light he's got. So we got to make them deteriorate on their own. I just thought that was cool.
That's
116 years it's been burning, and it's at the Livermore Pleasanton Fire Department in Livermore, California.
That is mind blowing, dude.
That's probably the oldest. I don't know this, but probably one of the oldest ongoing electrical conduits ever. I think it's fascinating because they talk about this a lot in technology today, but Apple. Everyone thinks that their iPhone is going to die in 2 years because they make it happen.
Absolutely.
They slow it down. They fucking screw
everything.
With you.
There's I feel like I brought it up on the podcast before, but there's a movie called Moon with Sam Rockwell.
My friend has a tattoo commemorating that.
Hey, wonder who that guy is.
Oh, is it you, Nick?
Yeah, it's me. Spoiler alert. So, essentially, in the movie, without trying to give too much away, they control the lifespan of this person, and I'll leave it at that. And that's sort of the idea in Moon. I don't want to ruin it because it's such a great movie, and a lot of people need to see it who haven't. But I do think that the way that things go with technology, and even with us, with our diets, with what we're being fed, and why things are still allowed, is I do think that a lot is being controlled. Like, it's supply and demand, right? Like, why do these light bulbs, why are they not built to last longer? Well, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it.
Right.
There's a market for there's a light bulb market. If your light bulb burns out, you go buy more.
Yeah.
And there's money. If your light bulb lasted 10 years, it would be like the mattress market, where people don't need a new mattress every 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like, how much would that single light bulb cost then? It'd probably be a pretty big investment for someone if it were to last 10 years,
And same thing for cars. Like, I feel that cars back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s were built to last. And it wasn't just Ford trucks and minivans. It was
Thunderbirds and Fairlane
Thunderbirds,
500s,
DeLoreans, all those
Corvettes.
things. Corvettes were built like tanks.
Yeah.
Mercedes Benz sports cars were built like tanks.
I guess when the idea of American-made existed, that was the purpose of American-made things, is that they were built to last forever.
But American-made things cost a damn fortune.
Right. Yeah, it's that weird thing where you have to respect the person's invention and the research and development that it took to, make this thing. So yeah, it does deserve some lofty price. But then on the other hand, what does every person on the world, can they only afford a handful of things throughout their lifetime? Like, man, we got to have a little bit of this. We got to have a little bit of that. We need to have all this shit.
It's an ever-changing market, and that wraps my thought up, is that, I do feel like things do advance, but there are technologies that made perfect sense in the past, even as far as, with the Giza Pyramid. I think there are so many specific things that have just been lost in time. But you think about everything that comes back up and resurfaces, like this whole oatmeal cereal situation where everyone's saying, there's poison in oatmeal and cereal that's killing us slowly. And that was big news last week.
Isn't there?
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say a fun fact? I thought it was maybe Johnny. Maybe it was you, Nick, where you can waft a magnet through a box of cereal and definitely find a certain number of pieces of iron or some shit.
I've never said that.
No, I don't know who said that.
Yeah, somebody said that to me last week. Weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
what's
in
the
every
point
box
of
of cereal,
that?
there's an okay amount of loose iron shavings.
But wait, what's
Which is
the
crazy.
point of that? Why
Well,
do they
the
want to
point-
kill you? They can
it's-
tell you more
well-
stuff later on.
What's the point of it's like the shift, I think, too. It's a market shift. I think this comes back to like, I don't think it's truly connected, but like Bohemian Grove, NWO, all that stuff. I think that to take down these companies, these brands, like they allow it to happen, and then people shift, and it creates a new market. So then everyone's buying the gluten-free. They're looking out. And
Yeah.
they're
They're
focusing.
just selling a different sector of their product now. You know, it's all the same people.
the more expensive product.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just what Disney company are you watching? You know, like
It
which
just-
one?
Exactly.
It would make sense.
Exactly.
It would make sense to me though that they wouldn't put like shavings in there that would kill you. They'd put something there that would make you disgusted. Because like if their intent is to have you spice something else,
Well-
killing you would fuck that up. Because then you can't sell something to a dead person. If you're killing me faster, they want to sell me things in the future, make me disgusted, and then I'll go to something else. You know.
Well, yeah, they're probably just pointing out things that are it's inevitable that these things will be in there. I mean, you can't, like these machines that are making all these things are metal. There's probably a certain ratio of like, yeah, there's this number of loose iron shavings fucking on your floor right now.
Yeah.
There's that number on your chair or whatever. Like it's just everywhere. You can't avoid it because it's just fucking everywhere. And so maybe it's just like an inflated stat to like make people think a certain thing. Like have you heard that I don't remember what food this is in, but there's, I guess in most foods there's an acceptable number of like rat poop that you can have in the food.
What?
Yeah. And this may come as a surprise. I think I've said this on the podcast before. In my previous life as a pizza master, I would be the guy at our shop that did all the inventory, so I do all the food orders and stuff like that. And I would have to pay attention to the sell dates, right? And I did a little research, and I found that it is not required in the United States, at least at the time. This was like 2009 or 10 where I looked this up. At the time, there were no laws that say you have to have any kind of sell-by date or anything on any food other than baby food.
What?
Yeah, and it
So,
blows
but
my mind.
then
So
why
every
do
time
that?
you get it,
Wild.
yeah, it's wild. So the numbers that they're putting on there, you don't know. I don't know if there are laws that state if you put a number on a piece of food that resembles this, functionality, that people are obviously going to take as the sell date. And I don't know if there are rules that govern that. Like if you put something on there, it has to be in this time frame or something. I don't know if that's real or if they can literally just slap numbers onto a box and be like, "Oh yeah, that's it."
I'm the first person to say though
You know
that
what I
like milk definitely does get old after the date that it says goodbye or good until.
It does, yeah. But isn't it something like like several weeks after that date to where it's before it spoils? But we're
I don't
also
know.
talking unopened.
That's true. That's true.
Once you open it, it's like game over. You might have days.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
So how
Especially
does
if you drink from it.
crazy.
How does this relate to pyramids?
Well, we're just talking about we sidetracked because we talked about because to not get Taylor too far off. We were just talking about the lost technologies and why things
Okay.
did not advance. Like why?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we were at.
Okay.
And it all boils down to just food spoilage.
It's all food spoilage.
So some things that we know about the Great Pyramid that are true is that its base covers about 13 acres. It is almost perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. It has 8 sides rather than 4, which is commonly believed.
Wait, what? 8 sides up?
Yeah, there are 8
Pyramid?
sides to at least this pyramid. I'm not sure if the other 2 on the Giza Plateau are 8-sided or not. But yeah, you look at it with the naked eye, it's a 4-sided pyramid, right?
But okay, yeah.
Okay, you look at it from above, under like the perfect lighting condition, it's actually slightly concave in the center of each side. So there's another point in the middle of each side that is indented inwards.
But wouldn't that make it not a pyramid though? Isn't a pyramid a triangle with 4 sides? Or
Is it though, Johnny?
I'm not
Is it?
sure. I'm not sure. Should one of you guys look that up real quick? Because I don't know about that. That's a good point.
I could have sworn.
But it is
What
8-sided
is a
pyramid.
pyramid? What is a pyramid?
Yeah, what is a pyramid?
It's a square with a
All
point.
right, hang on. I'm googling.
Google.
Because it doesn't say anything about 3 in pyramid, does it? Like Pira, maybe that's 3. I
No,
don't know.
but each side of the pyramid is a triangle.
Yeah. Well, these would all still be triangles.
Yeah,
But,
you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that matters.
It's a structure. As such, a pyramid has at least 3 outer triangular surfaces, at least 4 faces, including the base.
Okay, well then, yeah, I guess it classifies.
Okay, so a 3-sided to make it a 3D object, it would have to have 3 sides and a base.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
so at least be a 3D object with triangle sides.
Proceed, Taylor.
Okay, sweet. We all learned that. So there are roughly 2.3 million blocks of stone that were used.
Million?
Yeah, 2.3 million. And I did see something where it was like it's believed that these were built over like a 20-year period with around 20,000 workers. And with that math, I didn't do this math, so if the math is wrong, don't fucking slap me in the face. But from the math that I read, to fit those time constraints with that number of blocks, there would have been a block quarried and laid every 3 minutes, I believe.
Oh my!
What?
That's not
Yeah.
possible.
Dude, it might be 3 seconds, dude.
What?
It's 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes
That
per block.
can't be possible.
Right. It's insane. So yeah, some people will argue that there has been carbon dating done on the outside, the outside stones or whatever, and the carbon dating from the bottom is different from the top. So it appears that possible that it was created over a much larger period of time, like 1,000 years and shit like that. But in my opinion, if you're going to create something that's functioning, even if it was just a temple, over like 1,000-year period, that would take so much cooperation.
Yeah.
And people's minds change in
Agreed.
such a short period of time. I don't know
Yeah.
if that would make sense. I believe that it would probably be made by one group or one person,
Collective.
one idea. Yeah.
Yeah, what's it called? When you have one pharaoh idea. And the idea as well is that back then, I don't know the time, I don't know the dates of this stuff because all I have is in front of me is a piece of paper. But
There's a lot of weird dates that I'll get into.
But so back then, the life expectancy of a person was not 80 years old like it is today. It was like 20, 30, 40 years old. So like how many people would go through this idea that were alive to dead? I'm sure if they had it longer than a 20-year period, just for, then the idea would change and they'd want something different. But like I can't imagine it being over 1,000 years because after 1,000 years, people would be like, that's not Gucci. That's like, that's not hipster anymore.
Well, Taylor,
literally to be doing it'd be nonstop work. I'd be like, that would suck.
Before you jump ahead, Taylor, just for me in terms of relation, because I feel like I could be wrong, because I'm actually trying not to use my computer. The Sphinx or the Pharaoh, the
Sphinx,
is it close? It's
Sphinxter?
close to the Giza Pyramid, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
right there in front of it.
Okay, good. That's good for me to know for the rest of the podcast.
Why?
Thank you.
Well, that's when you talk about the Sphinx, that's one of the things that throws all the dating off of the pyramid, because the pyramid, it's hard to judge its weathering, I guess, because most of its life, it was encased in a near perfect encasement of limestone on the outside, which would be practically unweathered, because it was a smooth surface.
Yeah.
But the Sphinx, however,
Is exposed to environments.
yeah, it's exposed, and it's believed that. So the common belief is that these were built about 4 to 6,000 years ago.
Okay.
But then another common belief is that you must at least double that, based off some other factors that are going on. So let's say 12,000 years, and then there are more recent beliefs that are more accepted by geologists and stuff like that looked at the weather erosion on the Sphinx itself and on the pit around it. Because there's a difference between the Sphinx. The Sphinx was carved in place from the stone that exists there. The pyramids, the stones were brought in. So the Sphinx shows the weathering that happened at the location throughout a period of time, and it said that it needed a consistent 20 to 30,000 years of heavy rain to erode the way it has eroded.
Damn. Or it was just shitty rock. Maybe they
Heavy rain above the head?
Yeah, I mean, its whole body, yeah. So, where the head is, where the Sphinx is, it's clearly cut into the ground. So, around it, it's like a rectangular hole that it's in, So, on this little pool, if you want to call it that is around the Sphinx, it's highly weathered. You can visibly see the weathering. You can look at it and be like, oh, obviously that's water erosion. And these are geologists that are judging the amount of time it would have taken to erode this type of rock, to the state that it is.
So you're saying is this technology that would be used to import these huge pieces of rock were 3 minutes at a time in a time that was 10,000 years ago?
Well, it's possible that the Sphinx and the pyramids were not built at the same time, but it's assumed that they were, since the Sphinx is probably so old. There's no records of how the Egyptians might have built either one. There's zero records. The Egyptians show up, and there's like, the thing that puts this 30,000 the year time frame into a possibility is because there are 20 to 30,000 years of records that the Egyptians wrote about. So they say 20,000 years ago this happened, 15,000 years ago this happened, 10,000 years ago this happened. But they're writing about the past. They're not writing about that in current time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They didn't write it 15,000 years ago. They wrote it 6,000 years ago, about 15,000 years ago. Right?
Whoa.
That's fucking wild.
So it's confusing. And the story, like the Sphinx was discovered like more than once, multiple times. The whole thing was covered in sand multiple times. And it had been dug out multiple times.
It was covered and no one could see it for different times.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of the times that it was found, I forget who this was, like literally tripped on it. Like, boop, tripped on it, stubbed my toe. What's that? Oh, let's start digging. It's a fucking head. Oh, shit, let's start digging. It's a full Sphinx. Holy shit. And I guess at that time, this pyramid's right there next to it. And there's I forget we'll have a whole episode on Sphinx and what is possibly around the Sphinx, what its purpose is, but there's supposed to be a second Sphinx. And that's never been found, yeah.
Get out.
I didn't even know what that.
Yeah, it's just a tablet right in between the Sphinx's paws that say all this shit about when it was discovered, and that it describes the second Sphinx and its locations, but it's not there. So pretty weird.
What was the technology behind this? How would do you have the information, Taylor, of how they could have transported these rocks in there every 3 minutes?
No. See, basically, my episode today was not really talking about at all how it could have been built, but is really only talking about what its purpose might have been.
Okay.
Because we're also assuming by this age thing that we just talked about that the people that we know as the ancient Egyptians started at some certain time, and they wrote about times that were historic to them, but it's not real historical accounts. It could be just like somebody writing about stuff like we do in the Bible and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it implies that the Sphinx was built 20 to 30,000 years ago, which blows all timelines out of the water.
Fuck.
And there's never been any explanation. People say pulleys, ramps, rollers, all these different ways that the Egyptians, the people that we know as Egyptians, might have transported these stones, let alone quarry them. Now keep in mind, the Egyptians, they had no tools other than copper. They had copper tools, copper chisels. They didn't have steel, they didn't have iron. You try and carve something with a copper tool. It's like the weakest metal there is.
Yeah.
And like trying to make a gold shovel and do digging, it won't work.
So you're saying, like, what was the purpose of these things?
Yeah. So the assumption is that these were not built by the Egyptians. They were built a long time prior, and we don't even have any ability to guess who built them. But some of the factors that we have to look at is that, all these ancient Egyptian sites, we know what a tomb is. We've found the tombs, the Valley of the Kings. That's where all the tombs are. That's where all the pharaohs are.
Yeah.
And inside all those all those tombs, it's elaborate hieroglyphics, elaborate paintings, all kinds of treasure, all kinds of gold. And number one, there's a pharaoh's body in there, right? And it's an obvious, there's the hieroglyphic story of this pharaoh is written on the wall. The time period is known, you know what I mean? In the Great Pyramid, no body has ever been found, and not one single hieroglyphic or painting or anything even remotely decorative has ever been found.
In the pyramid, really?
In the pyramid, yeah. I did find one little thing that said there was one painting in this motherfucker, but I do not believe this one slight little bit, so I won't even mention it.
Well, if it's not meant for decoration or for a burial site, the fuck is it for?
Yeah,
what the fuck is it? Yeah.
Wasn't there a king's chamber inside of the Giza Pyramid?
I thought that was what
so
happened.
there are several chambers in there. One of them's called the king's chamber. One of them's called the queen's chamber. But obviously those are just, when it was originally found, they're like, oh, this must be the king's chamber. And the actual queen's chamber wasn't found until like the 1990s or so. So it went a long time just assuming that, oh, this is the greatest pharaoh that's ever lived. That was his tomb. Inside of the king's chamber, there is a sarcophagus what is thought to be a sarcophagus, but it's unclear whether it's not the size of a human body. B, there's no lid. It's assumed that maybe the lid had been taken at some point. But it's also believed that it's possible that this sarcophagus was brought in at some point because it does not fit the same specs as like everything else that's built there.
Could you imagine rolling up like as an archaeologist?
Yeah.
Or geologist
Fucking
whoever rolls up, you find this pyramid. But obviously, it's it's the seventh wonder of the world or whatever.
Yeah.
You see this pyramid, you're like, this is it. Everything that we've been searching for, this is it.
Yeah.
You find a way inside. You Brendan Fraser that shit. You go inside, and you're looking around, and you're like, okay, cool, we're in. Let's figure this out. Okay, the way these pyramids work. Okay, we got a king's chamber. Great. Let's go in here. Maybe we found, Toots. We found Tutankhamun. We found somebody. And you go in there, and there's nothing. There's nothing in the walls.
Absolutely nothing.
There's an empty sarcophagus without a lid. That's
at
too
that
small.
point, I'd be very afraid.
Like what? Like what do you do?
Get the fuck out.
Who was there before, and where is everything?
Yeah, who the fuck and where? So there are all kinds of weird like every major person in history stumbled upon these things. Napoleon wrote about them. Oh my God, they're amazing. He traveled up to the king's chamber. I think if you get up in the king's chamber, you can see these people's signatures. They wrote on the fucking wall. When they were there, like crazy. But one of the weird things that is kind of a side note. It is noted that there's all kinds of illustrations and notes in like Greek stuff where they talk about the interior of the pyramid where it had to have been mapped out and known at some point. And somewhere along the lines that became not real knowledge. And I can't remember the year, but the first person to apparently break in was a pharaoh. I guess he was a pharaoh. Cartif is what they called him. But his last name was Al-Amin. And basically, he and his team, what they say is that they tunneled in from the side and they went into a straight line just as far as they could until they heard this giant crash off in the distance. And they said, whoa, that must be where we need to go. There must be a shaft over there or an opening. That's the direction that we're going to dig. So they continue to dig. And they get into this place where you would kind of need to see a diagram of these shafts and the way they intersect. But they basically come into the first main intersection of this shaft that splits from where the shafts go down and the shafts go up. Shaft goes down to the queen's chamber. Shaft goes up to the king's chamber and the other resonant halls. So they somehow tunneled straight in and hit this intersection perfectly. And then they fight around some blocks or whatever, move some big old blocks, and then they make their way up to the king's chamber. And they get all the way to the king's chamber, and they say they don't find anything other than this sarcophagus with no lid, right? But what's fucking weird about this is the place where they dug in is like 150 feet, 200 feet below where there was a mythological, if you will, actual entrance to the pyramid. And it's said that this entrance, which has been found, you can see it in pictures now, the actual entrance, about halfway up on the pyramid, supposedly has a swinging door, like a latched swinging door. And you pick the right rock, you swing it open with very little resistance.
What the fuck?
And that lets you down in here. I don't know if that swinging door, that whole area is gone. They've excavated all the stones around where this entrance was, so where that swinging door could have been, is gone, and now you just see the entrance. Okay, so the idea is that this Alman guy or whoever he heard the stories, he'd seen a diagram, he knew that there was an entrance right around there. And that he somehow must have tunneled in. If he knew the entrance was there, why didn't he just go to the entrance? Right. If it was so easy. Why is he tunneling in 150 feet below it, right? So the idea is that he did know where that entrance was. He went in through the entrance with his team, got all the way up to the king's chamber, found something in the king's chamber that could have been placed in this sarcophagi, and then broke the lid off, broke the lid open, took whatever was in there out, takes it back down through the shafts, and instead of having to then take it from that intersection back up to go out the entrance where they came in, maybe that would be too much work. It can't go up. They haven't had to go up at any point with whatever this heavy object is. So instead, they dig a tunnel straight outwards, just to the outside wall of the tunnel, building a new tunnel. So assuming that they found something that was really heavy, they could have come in the door, went up there and got it, and then dug out a new path to get it out, which is a pretty interesting thing. Which is just a side note. That was just like a side thing that I came upon, which I thought was really cool.
I just don't understand what the point.
What is the point of this fucking thing? Yeah.
I don't. And so this isn't like a graveyard. This isn't like a weird cemetery. This is a huge structure.
It's the largest standing structure today.
Is it really?
Right?
Well, I don't know about mass-wise, maybe so, but it was the tallest structure until the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, I feel like it's way easier to build something that is hollowed inside, like a building, rather than like a structure like the pyramids. But
yeah, like the math alone with the blocks and the amount of time. That's like the crazy part. Yeah.
Yeah. Still,
Big base.
I just don't fucking understand why.
This podcast is also sponsored by Future Monsters, a premier apparel store with pop culture and horror focus. Each product is handmade with quality materials, so not only does it look good, but it feels so good. No mass-produced cheap garbage here, with designs inspired by King Kong, the Wolfman, and much more. These shirts are a must for every occasion, whether it be nightclubbing, metal shows, weddings, and of course, our favorite, podcasting. Head over to futuremonsters.com and enter the code HYBRO, that's a capital HYBRO, at checkout to save 10% on your next purchase. We know we'll be doing that as soon as possible.
So the why about this. So the Giza Plateau and this pyramid specifically is on the geographic center, the exact center of the Earth's landmass. Take all of Earth's landmass and I guess draw a grid. This pyramid is the exact center of all landmass.
Wait, what do you mean center?
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand. I looked at it on a map. Apparently, if you look at the right map, because I guess you could look at plenty of maps where it's not the center. Apparently, there's a way to explain it to where this is the most central point. I guess if you go east to the farthest piece of land and to the west to the farthest piece of land, I guess the stretch of ocean opposite you is greater, I guess. So that would make this the center. Not quite sure, but it has been stated, I read it multiple times, that this is the exact center. Not a roundabout center, but the exact center of the Earth's landmass.
How the fuck did they know that?
How the fuck did they know that? And as a matter of fact, when modern map makers and timekeepers were trying to declare where the prime meridian is, it was first going to be right there at the pyramid, because that was the most logical point, being the center of all land.
People today in land surveying take a tripod and a theodolite on top of it and have to map out different like cities and their fucking geography. But these freaking like Egyptians just knew that shit.
I'm having to assume that these weren't Egyptians. That this is far before Egyptian times.
Okay.
That's what I'm imagining. I'm not quite sure. Who knows?
So you're saying it was like a different civilization and the Egyptians just happened to live there and they just like also
They're just the ones that came about, yeah.
Okay.
So
the first.
There are several different methods being proposed as to how this machine may be used, but most point towards being some sort of a power generator that harnesses the power of the Earth to then be broadcast and received across the globe. One very big indication of this, that the pyramid was used as a power generating machine, is its position in relation to the Nile River and Egypt's underground water table.
So you're saying they harness the power of rivers to give power?
Okay, so, the Great Pyramid, the Giza Plateau, it sits above a natural aquifer.
Okay.
And an aquifer, basically a system of limestone caves, caverns, areas that water can flow through. And the water table, which now still runs through this area, but at the time, the Nile River was like 8 miles closer to the pyramids than they are, and it actually touched the pyramids. It went right up to the pyramids, meaning that the water was moving constantly in that area, especially at the water table. You know, it's moving up and down all the time. And not only that, but apparently the Nile River would totally go down and then flood once a year. So that would also amplify this movement of water that's going through the water table underneath the Giza Plateau. Okay? One thing that this does in a natural aquifer, when this water is essentially pulsing through these rocks, it creates what is called electrostasis. And in water, electrostasis is when it splits into hydrogen and oxygen. And then that hydrogen and oxygen can then be manipulated by the mechanical properties of the pyramid to create energy.
Well, that's fucking wild.
It's like, it's just the whole damn thing.
That's
What?
like the world's biggest charger. Like the world's biggest battery.
Literally, it's a giant battery.
Right. So I can sit here, I can act like I understand the process, but like I told you guys earlier, I want to understand this shit. I want to understand the electronics of this, but I will try to explain it.
They taught whoever the people who found the pyramid, the Egyptians or people who made it, they taught them how that shit works. But today in the 21st century, right, so like thousands of years afterwards, we don't even understand how volts and like amperage works. And this is like dealing with like quantum levels of this.
Yeah, our common dude speak is like, yeah, man, I know what I know my pedal, my fuzz pedal needs 9 volts of power. I don't know what the fuck that means. I even took a year of electrical engineering, and I got no fucking clue, man. It was in one ear, out the other. And I feel like I'm a smart dude who's willing to understand this shit. It's not easy to comprehend,
I know people who don't understand AC/DC power, they don't understand, like, the difference between
some people just don't like bland rock music. I don't know.
Oh,
Bird, I like AC/DC. I like AC/DC.
Okay.
It was a joke. It was there.
I remember hearing a theory a while ago, specifically about the Giza Pyramid complex.
Yeah.
Because there are 2 neighboring pyramids, correct?
Right, yeah. There are 3 pyramids there. This is the biggest of them.
And don't they, as far as the whole power thing, don't they align with Orion's belt?
They do indeed.
Okay.
They do indeed. And they're not the only several, like the Chichen Itza, the South American Mayan pyramids. Also, I want to say it's the Temple of the Sun. It aligns to the same exact thing. It's the same exact 3 pyramids in a row. Some people also try and say, oh yeah, it's the exact fucking way that RAM is laid out on a motherboard. Like, I don't know, whatever. But it does seem to be the same orientation as Orion's belt. Size and positioning. In both of those cases.
Size?
Right. And then that would basically...
like it's 3 different stars of 3 different sizes, 3 different pyramids, 3 different sizes in the correct position.
But then again, how the fuck did they know that?
How the fuck do they know that? Yeah, this could be built by somebody so long ago that maybe we're not talking human.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's not human. If we're talking about the correlation of Orion's belt over the Giza Pyramid, and then it being, or over the Giza Pyramid complex, and it being some form of power...
Yeah.
Why would humans need to create power? What would they need to power if they don't have anything to power?
Yeah.
Well, what if there's something else that is creating this and has been helping our society and our civilization by saying we can here's something to investigate, and it helps pave the way for technological advancements.
Yeah.
That maybe this was supposed to be left in the dust. Maybe this was supposed to be lost. We just take from it what we need to. They give us it's like giving a kid a pencil and saying, write your name. You empower them to do that. What if this was essentially something else more advanced than us saying, we're going to empower you with this. Do with it what you will.
But it could be also possible that whoever those people who were doing the empowering had no real, even thought that people would exist here again. Maybe they're from Orion's belt, or what is it, Polaris or whatever. Maybe they're from Orion's belt. They built these pyramids on the Earth in several places in the same orientation to be some kind of a power generator that's like a set it and forget it. It'll do its thing. They can go back, and maybe they do that all over the solar system, all over the universe, and have all these different power stations that are just somehow providing power to the home base, wherever that is. And even if it's not directly going to the home base, it's like, okay, this configuration here is to tell you where home base was, but this power that it's generating from the Earth reaches out so far of a distance or whatever. It could be harnessed from a certain distance away, And, so it's like, okay, power for this sector of the universe or whatever, I don't know.
It's the whole thing. I remember reading, and I don't know off the top of my head, and Taylor, you might know because you've done the research on this, but even the Egyptians, there's a lot of space related to what they're discussing, and with Orion's belt, with those specific things, maybe they just were interested in space and if we're talking about constellations and shit, how close is the Leo constellation to Orion's belt? And does the Sphinx have to do with the constellation Leo? Oh.
Yeah, I guess some people were trying to date the Sphinx in the past by, okay, where would Leo be in the sky at this certain period of time? And it's like, oh, well, if it was here, then maybe that's when they built the Sphinx and why. But I don't know if I think those might just be thoughts. I don't know if that's I don't know if they've actually used that to date it,
The thought, though, that any civilization would make a structure that massive, that grand, for the purpose of we're going to do it to encapsulate the stars, like, that's not a purpose.
Well, maybe it was convenient for them.
That's convenient for them to build things that are that
under
massive.
Constellations. Like, maybe it was a position that because it was a risk to touch down on Earth, because it was such a massive planet, maybe that's the place that guarantees them that they can get on and off the planet.
Right,
so
they have this recognizable symbol that is Orion's belt on Earth, and it's like, okay, not only is it on one place, but it's on the opposite side of the Earth too. So, okay, so there are people when they come near, they're like, okay, that's the American flag, I can go there.
Yeah, it's how we use the North Star. It's how long, long ago when hunter-gatherers existed, it's how they always knew north.
What? So it seems like the most popular idea, though, is that this power would not necessarily be harnessed by people from far away, but that this power would be harnessed from people on Earth. And I'll try to explain how one of these theories works using the electrolysis thing. And so basically it involves the water that's constantly moving under the pyramid in these aquifers in a natural way. It's constantly moving, going up and down. In conjunction with the water that is supplied by the Nile's close proximity. It has a natural electrolysis, which is aided by the fact that all of the interior shafts and all of the interior rooms, chambers, if you will, they were made out of granite. And
black granite.
Black granite. And this black granite is a special kind of granite that was very high in quartz.
Okay.
And so what happens in electrolysis is that it breaks something down into its compounds, into its components. So electrolysis of water breaks it into hydrogen and oxygen. And there are diagrams of this shit where you can watch, they'll show you exactly how the whole thing could work if it were indeed this. Shows you where water gets pumped naturally, where things combust, where things resonate. So basically, it would be a pressurized system with several chambers tuned to specific frequencies and numerous tuned shafts as well. And the first major step of this process is in the Queen's Chamber, which also happens to be the geographic center of the pyramid itself. Like the 3D center of the pyramid is where the Queen's Chamber is. Yeah, maybe not a coincidence. Maybe the pyramid being in the center of the Earth, this Queen's Chamber being in the center of that, maybe that means something.
She is the center.
So, it is in this chamber that the hydrogen and oxygen are officially split into positively and negatively charged ions. The negative ions then cool, travel back down into the underground aquifers to be regenerated and recycled into the system. And the positively charged would travel up into the Grand Gallery, where it would resonate, and the resonation would create heat. And this is called thermoacoustics, I guess. And in this Grand Gallery, there would be a system of resonators, which would be tuned to very specific frequencies to basically eliminate frequencies from going past it.
You sound
into
so
the King's
smart right
Chamber. I'm trying, man. I'm fucking trying, dude.
You're blowing my mind.
I'm following you, Taylor, but you guys sound like a goddamn scientist.
I failed math class, so this is not going well for me.
You keep going.
So, basically in the Grand Gallery where all these resonators are, these things would be resonating, at certain chosen frequencies where the resonation gets so great that it combusts. And that's called thermoacoustics, where the heat, the resonance creates heat, the heat combusts. When it combusts, it enters the King's chamber. And then the King's chamber, if you look at pictures of it, and if you know what a heat sink is, the King's chamber kind of resembles a heat sink. It has all these granite stacks that seem to be meant to collect the heat and let it disperse from there, and kind of getting rid of the heat energy. But what's left is this other kind of energy. I don't know what they're calling it, electro something. It's some kind of electricity that is created from that point that is directed directly up. And then sitting on top of the pyramid at one point was believed to be a solid pyramid of gold on the very top.
Whoa.
And it is believed that this energy that is directed towards the solid gold piece of pyramid would then be dispersed into the sky. And then the outer casing was this, this white limestone, which was apparently so nice and so tight that its purpose was to contain all this all this electricity that was happening inside of it, basically as an insulator. And then all the limestone that's inside, as we found out in the Coral Castle, limestone is a conductor. So there's certain types of limestone. We have these two different types of limestone. The one on the outside is an insulator. The one on the inside of the pyramid is a conductor.
Okay.
And then all the granite that
Black
is
granite.
lining the chambers and channels or whatever, it is all superconductor, like not a superconductor, but it's hella conductive.
Okay.
And it also aids in the ionization in the electrolysis. So basically, the way it boils down is electricity is generated from the conversion of heat into sound and then into electricity. That's like the nuts and bolts of it.
Okay.
And then you ask, well, where, Taylor? Where the fuck would this electricity go?
Why do they need those? And where's it? Yeah, where is the?
What is it necessary for?
What is it necessary? So in 1897, our old pal Nikola Tesla patented a process stating that at 30,000 feet above the Earth's surface lies the ionosphere, an atmosphere that naturally conducts electricity at high volts. His Wardenclyffe Tower, which began construction, I believe, 1903, took about 15 years or something, would emit electricity into this airspace and was collected by another device and would convert that electricity into smaller, more usable currents.
Okay.
And it is also apparent that Wardenclyffe Tower was also built over a natural aquifer and used similar methods to harness the naturally occurring electricity of the Earth in the same way that they're proposing the pyramid power plant would work. So essentially, all the research that I've been doing is saying that a Tesla coil, what you know as the Wardenclyffe Tower, would be the exact same thing as the Giza Pyramid being used as a power plant.
You're fucking my brain up right now.
So essentially,
it does the same exact thing as what these people are saying.
It was placed here, so there was no necessity for it when it was made, the Giza Pyramid. And it was put here to pave the way and start conducting and creating enough electricity with that atmosphere or whatever to basically help get us to the point where we are now with the...
Like a jump start?
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility, but what I more subscribe to is, if you look at, like I know you've been out somewhere in the woods, maybe randomly, and you've seen a car that's like, dude, how did this car get way out here? There's no roads. Or just some example where you've seen something out in the middle of fucking nowhere, or just a dilapidated house, Like these structures, when they're made out of metal, wood, they don't last very long. Like if you see pictures of the Titanic, it's over 50% gone right now. And of course it's underwater, so that's more erosion.
Yeah.
But that's just an idea. Like everything made out of metal that we know of, in 10,000 years or so, it's probably going to be gone. And I watched I watched something on YouTube earlier today, a study on YouTube, that said that in 10,000 years, the only structure on Earth that will probably be around, that's man-made, would be the Hoover Dam. And it would be crumbling at, it's just made out of cement and stone, So it's basically like anything made out of metal is not going to last. Obviously, nothing made out of wood is going to last. Only things that are strictly made out of stone are going to be there. So there's really no reason to believe that this stone structure, since we have no idea how it could be built, literally, every time someone tells you that, oh, the building of the pyramid has been debunked, dude, slap in the face, because they are not correct. Like, we've all looked at this 1,000 times. Like, there's nothing that explains how the pyramids have been built. We don't know that how they were built. They could have been here for millions of years. Millions. There's no way to know. It's possible that somebody was on the planet far before us, and there have been plenty of artifacts found that are millions of years old, that are obviously man-made things, that they can't explain how did this get there. Like, there have been, like, this bell that was found in a completely encased lump of coal, like a metal bell. I find it weird that artifacts they find are very much things that we would see today, but whatever. I don't know. I guess like we talked about earlier, you can rediscover things more than once. But
like America.
Yeah. Well, I subscribe to the fact that these things could have been built a fuck ton, like way long ago, longer than, any of our human history will allow. And we just stumbled upon it, and that it's a naturally occurring system. Like, it could, if all the things were in place, it could still work, but it just doesn't, because people came along, they had no use for electricity until in 1934 in Iraq. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Baghdad Battery.
No.
Okay, so in 1934, in Iraq, there were several clay pots that were found that come from Egyptian times. They have been dated. They have organic material in there that has been dated to the Egyptian times. Basically, they're clay pots with copper tubes and an iron rod, and you combine that with like an acid, like a fruit juice, like a citric juice.
Yeah, and it'll give you power.
It'll give you power, yeah. And it's said that these can create up to like 4 volts, which is much more than... It's actually like almost quadruple what it takes to start electrolysis in water. But it's commonly thought that that's how they did electroplating of gold. So it's thought that they had a use for electricity. Obviously, they were making these batteries. But aside from that, I've heard this debunked in several ways, but in all of these pyramids, there's no soot on the walls and the ceiling that would indicate that torches were used to light the way. And I've heard this debunked in many different ways, but that's something that you can hold on to, saying, hey, it's possible that Egyptians did have something that resembles a flashlight. And there's actually a place, the city, I think it's called Dendera, and there are temples there, which the way I saw it described was that this city was the place in Egypt where knowledge was kept, and knowledge was transferred to person.
But then I would subscribe to the idea, Taylor, that if there was something like that, like flashlights or technology they were using that wouldn't, have soot, we should find those things. We should be finding those things.
Yeah, that is true. We should find those things, and those haven't been found. That's the argument. But we did find a Baghdad battery, and there are hieroglyphics in one of these temples in Dendera that show it's very hard to argue that these things aren't light bulbs that it shows. Okay. It's very hard to argue this. You just have to see it yourself and to see what it is. And it even kind of depicts, which I think is kind of funny, it depicts electricity. What you would say that they're saying is electricity, it depicts them as serpents, which I think is a cool parallel to, if everything is based off frequency, electricity, energy, wouldn't the serpent, that's like the guardian of the knowledge, right? He wanted us to eat the apple. It's like knowledge is this knowledge of the natural ways of the world that have been suppressed, not only our entire lives, but in simple ways like GE and Edison are suppressing the fact that they have a light bulb that would last over 100 years. The same exact thing. Same exact way Wardenclyffe Tower was shut the fuck down because they couldn't make enough money on it. They can't make everything we know is based off of energy creation, and that's how people make their money. And if we didn't have these massive companies who are the biggest companies in the world, the richest people in the known world ever, were controlling the electricity, why would they not want to shut down free electricity? This basically is talking about free electricity. That's what Tesla was trying to do.
Yeah.
So one of the things about the pyramids is how would they receive this energy? Well, one thought is that these obelisks that are in every major area in Egypt could possibly be a receiver of some sort.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's because Tesla had to have a separate device to receive this energy that he was transmitting. So the Egyptians would need a separate thing as well.
It's so intricate. There's so many well, how would they use this? Well, here's the reason why. Or how could they store this energy? And there's always a fucking reason. And that's blowing me out of the water right now. Because in my mind, like, I can't figure out how the hell I have a battery charger that can store, energy in a Tesla battery and charge my phone, let alone freaking pyramid that was bathed this long ago. I can't subscribe to the idea that they would know that. I'm sorry, we're going back to that concept, but I don't know.
I agree with you, though. I mean, it doesn't seem like the Egyptians knew that kind of stuff. It seems like the people that we're talking about aren't the Egyptians. I stumble on this fact all the fucking time, that this can't be real. I have to get this timeline right in my head, that the Egyptians the wheel was not invented yet? Like, is that real? I've always known, to be fact, that during the time of the Egyptians, the wheel had not been yet created. Like the axle, an axle and a ball bearing, which does not make sense to me.
No, that doesn't make a damn bit. How could they have? I've heard the pulley argument. I've heard cylinders that they transport the things on on essentially a conveyor belt of wheels.
The cylinder could still work. That wouldn't be an axle, but a pulley would contain an axle.
The whole thing,
and no pulleys have ever been found there.
It doesn't make sense because the wheel was invented in 3500 BC. The Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed between 2580 and 2560 BC.
Is that earlier or later?
That's later.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And humans discovered fire, like controlled fire, anywhere between 230,000 years ago and 1.4 or 1.5 million years ago. So who's to say with the Giza Pyramid that they didn't have some form of light that wasn't fire, because that's a lot of time to go by. They're building, quote unquote, these advanced civilizations. How did they not figure out how to have more than just fire? Because these people had to build at night. There's no way.
Well, 3 minutes, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that calculation takes into account day and night. I'm not sure. I don't think it does.
It's too damn hot. It's too damn hot during the day.
Too damn hot.
In the desert? It's too damn hot.
Only slaves actually worked on the pyramids, apparently, so they didn't give a shit.
Well, this was also, there's no evidence that slaves ever worked on it. There's there's no evidence of that. Some people think that those were just regular people and that was their job.
Every fucking thing I've been taught about these pyramids is wrong.
You've been taught wrong.
Think about how many people worked on it. A lot of the things that people take as fact are like assumed because it had to have been this way to get to the outcome that they're trying to tell you,
Yeah. People work jobs. Those were jobs. And you have to value the people who are building, because if you build during the day, and whether they are slaves, whether they are jobs, like if you don't give them enough breaks, they're going to overheat and die. Lifespan was already so short.
It was already so short.
Yeah. That it's like,
but
how do you build that much? And then how do you see at nighttime?
We're also assuming that, back then there was no pollution or light pollution, so I'm sure that the moon would illuminate the vast majority of land rather than today.
But enough to lay.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
specifically.
We're also assuming that the Egyptians built it, and we were talking about
that's the big assumption.
That they didn't, because
they had none of the tools that it might have taken.
Exactly, I would subscribe that it was a civilization that was pre-Egyptian, but it had better technology. Is that fucking crazy?
Right. I mean, that has to be possible if we know of all these other circumstances where knowledge did exist. There was certainly a dark ages where shit was forgotten. I heard something the other day, like perspective painting or perspective drawing in itself had to be rediscovered. Weird. Like there is a huge gap in time where no perspective art exists. In the dark ages, no perspective art exists.
So you're saying that way back then there was technology and then we forgot it, and then
for whatever
later
reason
on we rediscovered it.
But maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just the idea of copying. Like there are people who have been creating. I mean, we live in a society where that's what people do. They create. Think about streaming services. Like we saw the birth of streaming services, and now everyone is doing it. You have Hulu and YouTube and Disney and Amazon and Netflix. They're all copying from each other. Maybe this is a situation where people were doing this but didn't know how to market it correctly. Therefore, they lost out on it, and someone else came in and said, well, I'm going to claim that I started this. So this is my invention.
They're the one who actually saw it through. I mean, how many times have you thought of something that you're like, that you've seen years later and like, fuck, if I would have pursued that, I'd be a millionaire. I can't tell you guys how many legitimate fucking ideas I've had But I'm sure everyone has these ideas, and it's not about the idea, it's about the follow through. But like e-cigarettes, dude, in high school, I was telling everybody about this fucking revolutionary idea that I had that was, oh, dude, it's like you could have nicotine in it if you wanted, but there's no smoke. It's like this mechanical thing. You just press the button, the smoke goes into your mouth, blah, 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 blah. It's like healthy for some fucking reason. So I was telling everybody about this shit. Years later, it pops up. Not only that, man, fucking Eat 24 and all those food places. I was trying to get loans to start this shit before I moved to California, several years before it started. And now it's the people who started that shit are multimillionaires.
What you're saying is that the people who like scammed you were Egyptians?
Yeah, dude. No, I'm just saying,
started.
like, not even outside of the global consciousness thought where, yeah, there is definitely in my mind a possibility that we're all tapping in to this same ether that our thoughts can flow through unconsciously and then we're pulling from and we're contributing to all the time. But aside from that, like, we all do live in the same world. We all live with basically the same tools. So why wouldn't we be thinking of similar, like, ways to get out of our problems? And if you're someone who's into electricity and you're working on electricity, you're working on new ways to do it, and you thought of the thing free energy, why wouldn't you think of ways to do it? And if there is a real way to do it, if multiple people are working on it, why wouldn't they stumble upon the actual way to do it? And that's, I believe at the same time AC current was invented by Tesla, there was another dude across the pond who was applying for the same patents. Obviously with no knowledge of each other. So
But
it's like things happen at similar times. I don't know why, but maybe it's people are just thinking of the same things, Maybe there's a global consciousness. I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, that's really wild, dude.
But I want to go to Egypt, dude. So fucking bad.
Is that our first thing? It's Taylor with like fucking camel, like riding camelback. He has a
Patreon.
He's
We're going to the
Dude,
Giza
get us
Pyramid.
there. If you get us there, I don't know. Maybe
Do you guys
I'll climb up it. I
do
don't
you guys
know.
believe in like mummies and shit like that? Like do you
mean?
believe in like spirits in Giza?
Yeah.
Spirits
As
there?
a kid, I always grew up knowing that like all those little like sarcophagi and sarcophagus girls were undead,
Shut up.
encapsulated in the fucking pyramid.
Yeah, no, I believe
I
that.
don't know. I never believed that. But yeah, I always thought mummies were cool. I'd be like, oh, tight. Yeah,
In sarcophagus Giza, I have a feeling that we could find some of this stuff.
Sarcophagus.
I hate this has lived on this long.
Yeah, it's so
Always
good.
Live on.
Do we know anything about that petition that these people were
Oh yeah,
trying to
did
sign
they?
about that
Did
goo?
they? Yeah,
the
Booty
Pharaoh
juice
punch.
vial. That booty juice.
Buddha juice. For those of you who don't know, a couple episodes ago, we found out that there was a sarcophagus that was found in Alexandria, that had some kind of weird bodily fluids that mixed with sewer water or whatever, and therefore it was like Pharaoh punch. Is what
They
people were trying
say it mixed with sewer water. They
Yeah.
they gotta prove it to me.
to. So
Weird side note about Alexandria before we get out of here. Apparently there was a lighthouse in Alexandria that was powered 24 hours a day. I say the word power as if it obviously used electricity, but I don't know. Some people think maybe it was a receptor of this electricity, and that's how it powered its way. I've never talked to any of the lighthouse attendants, so I don't know.
How's the petition going?
33,000 signatures.
How many do you need?
I don't know. Until people, I think they've already drained it at this point, so it's just too late.
They drained the booty juice.
It's too late.
Whack.
It's nasty.
The
anyways.
damage is done.
What a waste
No,
of
I do.
juice.
I want to go to Giza. I want to go to the Giza Pyramid. I want to
So
see
bad.
the Phoenix or
Here's
Sphinx.
the problem with that. You go there, it's not only all sand, like you're outside Egypt and you can see it from Egypt and it's all hot and you can get things. There's a city there, but you go out there and you see it, and that's it.
No, we got to experience
I don't know,
it.
man.
Can you even go in it? Is that even
Yes,
legal?
yes.
Yeah,
It
I don't
is.
know how you become part of that, but I would love to go inside. I would climb all the way up to the King's Chamber if they would let us.
We could also
I
horse it
know a
late.
guy who has been in. He went. He's been there several times. He's actually got a channel called Adept Initiatives. It's pretty cool stuff. Talks about a lot of crazy shit. But dude, I saw a picture of him. He said when he was there the first time, he went rogue and he fucking climbed up halfway up the pyramid, dude. And I saw
What?
the picture I saw the fucking picture of him halfway up on this pyramid, dude. He really did it.
That's
What?
fucking dangerous. He
Apparently,
could
that's
die.
long prison time. Apparently, but he did it. It was fucking tight.
You know him? You know him?
I know. I worked with him one time. Yeah, he's like a friend of a friend.
Hey,
Get him on a call.
Get him.
Yeah, get him a call. He'd probably make us look really dumb when we're talking about Egyptian stuff.
Very possibly.
Man, that's crazy. So what? I mean, what's the conclusion here? Like, what's the?
Yeah. So, Nick, do you think the Egyptians made the pyramids?
Personally, I don't think the Egyptians made the pyramids. I think they were there long before the Egyptians came about.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think if everything you're putting forth, Taylor, is fact, I agree. There's no way that they could have, with the tools we found, that they could have done it. But then again,
a little side note. I didn't mention that the exact dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant would fit inside of the sarcophagus in the king's chamber, and not only that, but the dimensions of the king's chamber also match the descriptions of the chamber, I believe in Solomon's temple or wherever it was kept. Yeah, same dimensions.
it's fucking
What?
wild.
Side note. Yeah, so one of the thoughts is that Alaman guy fucking took the Ark of the Covenant out of it, straight out of that sarcophagus.
And
But
moved
that's
it
just a
somewhere
side
else.
note. Yeah.
Huh. No, I was saying,
Wow.
even though I believe that it was
Side note.
pre-built thing before the Egyptians, then again, we still should have found tools, unless
Yeah.
there was some kind of Armageddon, and I don't know.
I mean, the tools could have eroded and stuff. If the Sphinx scenario is true and there was that much water that was coming in, I mean, the
copper
tools
erodes.
could have.
Yeah.
Copper erodes really
It
fast.
could have eroded, or it could have been swept elsewhere.
Yeah.
The
And then
water
when
could've
when
moved
we
it.
build a building, we use scaffolding and shit, and we take that scaffolding down and we don't ever see it, It's like, so maybe there are things that they use that we're like, yeah, we're going to get rid of them now.
How did the
'cause
Egyptians
We're
die?
going to go build something else. What?
Old
They didn't
age?
die. They're still there.
No. Oh, I mean,
Egypt is.
I know there's
Alright, just making sure.
Egyptians. I'm just saying, like, I guess
They
I
had a
thought
revolution.
I thought the people that built the pyramids died off. When I was a kid, I was like, whoever built them, and then that civilization stopped, and only we found that they were built a long time after. Basically,
Essentially, I believe that's my belief. Yeah, essentially.
yeah.
I would love. I don't know if this has been done before, and if it has, I apologize for suggesting it. But I would love if there was a build crew or something, a group of archaeologists that found a way to fund an actual building of a pyramid the way using the materials that they did and actually studying it and studying how quickly they build, how it go, like logistically how it would all work.
I think people have
Because-
done that, and that's why the question still is there, because those kind of studies didn't prove anything other than
Doesn't make sense.
holy shit, yeah, the math doesn't work. Like, because they'll show you how you can move real big things, but we know they didn't have pulleys. They didn't use some of these things that they maybe would have to have. So it's
Right.
still a question. It's like, well, they still couldn't have done it. I know that we could build one today.
Right.
But,
What's all the it's the architecture question as a whole. I think the idea of architecture is very confusing to me. You think about pyramids and castles and all of these specific things that you're using material like stone and all that jazz. Like, it just doesn't make sense how advanced it seems now with what we're doing. We're just building out of wood and cheat sheets, basically. Is how we build houses and homes and how we structure buildings with metal and all of that. Like, all the reinforcements seem tangible and too easy, whereas back then it's like, how the hell did they build some of the most advanced pieces of architecture ever?
Right. Like, we still, today, we live in a lot of broken systems where we still operate in these broken systems or a dead-end system. I mean, we build with steel and iron that has to be replaced at some point. Like, if
Right.
we are indeed going to live forever, or our civilization, why would we continue to build structures that we know we're going to have to replace? Like, maybe that was figured out a long time ago. Maybe the type of people that we're talking about who built this thing, maybe they had the foresight to be like, guys, we can't keep moving in a dead direction. We have to figure out what's going to sustain us and move in that direction, even if it's not right off the bat success. That's the direction you have to go, because inevitably that's the only way to continue growing without
Right.
stumping yourself into a dead end.
Well, it's growable materials, and that's this is a perfect segue back to how we started this podcast or this episode.
Doll hairs.
Doll hairs. Lots of doll hairs. It's interesting because it sounded like we kind of went off on a tangent in the beginning, but it's brought us all full circle. Is that sure, pyramids out of stone and castles out of stone, they can stand for a long period of time without aging, and that makes sense. Sure. But eventually, like, stone does not regrow.
Right.
Well,
No, I mean, like,
you can't grow a stone, but you can find stones that are being
think
made
about,
like...
okay, so think about, it's a bad example. I mean, it's a good example.
Yeah,
I just didn't,
Volcanoes make stone every day.
Stalactites. Hey, stalagmites.
Yeah, that's
think about
I don't know if those are rocks. Yeah, I guess they are.
think about how many freestanding buildings there are.
Yeah.
Houses, shops,
Yeah.
buildings.
Yeah.
All of those things, eventually we would completely deplete the earth from safe
Resources?
and obtainable resources like stone. If we kept
Yeah.
up with
Yeah, I guess the metals. That does make sense. Yeah.
I
metals-
disagree.
No, what the fuck? What do you mean
Well,
you
metals. Yeah.
disagree?
I don't know about woods though, but
Yeah,
metals.
I think there's enough building materials on the earth that we could totally do it. I mean, like, you
No,
have...
think about how many houses there
we're
are.
talking about infinity of time as well.
Yeah. Like, think about how much exists now and how we all need places to
sleep and stay.
sleep and work and live, all of those things. Think about all of that. And if it was all made out of stone, can you imagine how different our planet would look?
Yes, I could imagine.
And how invasive it would be and how inobtainable it would be.
The tallest structure would still be the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
Wait,
You know.
why?
Well, because we still don't know how it was built, and if we were to build one, why
We
would
could
they
bu-
want to build one that
We,
big?
we wouldn't, but we could build
Yeah.
something taller than the pyramids with stone.
Yeah, we could.
But,
But I think there's more rocks than you guys are giving credit for our fucking, like, our crust.
Yeah, but I'm not talking rocks.
Yeah, I'm not talking rocks.
You are.
I'm talking like stone,
Well,
like
yeah,
proper.
I guess. When talking
What do you
metals,
classify
I
in
guess we are
stone?
still talking about rocks, I guess.
We can create metals and we can create, like, wood. Trees will grow
You
back.
can technically compress a lot of sediment and minerals to make stone.
But to build
Yeah.
things, like, think about
Yeah.
the tallest buildings in New York City.
yeah.
Think about the Eiffel Tower. Like, if we were still building
1,000
out of
feet.
stone, from a architectural
It would suck.
standpoint, it doesn't make sense. So
Well-
we didn't go backwards. We're advancing in our own right, saying that building out of wood and metal make much more sense than continuing to build out of stone, even though the architecture will stand longer.
I agree.
I agree
You
to a
think-
certain
yeah.
extent. I feel that the reason we live in cities and the reason that we have tall buildings in cities is because of oil. If we had a free energy system where we could get from place to place and we didn't have to rely on combustion oil engines for transportation, then we'd have no reason to live in a city. We could then occupy the rest of the globe. You know, like driving through Florida, there's nothing fucking there, dude. It's a bunch of green space. If we didn't have to rely on transportation, people could actually live out there.
Right.
You know, and actually exist out there. We wouldn't have to build straight up. We would still have the option of using stone because we wouldn't have to build structures that are just straight up in the air. I don't know. So it's almost like you choose one path, you're forced to use steel. You choose the other path, maybe you're not. You know, and I don't know. Maybe living in these close quarters also breeds a lot of people. You get all these junked up people in there. I don't know. City living
Yeah.
ain't fun. I've lived in the city. It was cool. It was cool living in the city. I'm not going to lie. But it's a lot cooler going outside and having some grass, dude.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know. I don't know.
I feel like if we still stuck with the stone foundations, I think that our architecture would be substantially different. Our living, our working, I think we'd find a lot more large buildings that multiple shops and things would be in. I think that just our world would look completely different if we still kept building, if our architecture was
Yeah.
still built as it was.
It would look insanely different. I think
No, it's
people would
completely-
have a different understanding of everyday physics possibly as well. Because you'd be more teetering on balance, the arches, keystones, like things that maybe someone who doesn't have to have an advanced knowledge of the stresses of a fucking steel, you know, like what point is this steel beam going to stress under what weight or whatever. Maybe there's less knowledge that has to be known, but just a different knowledge, more delicate knowledge of the physics of the world around us. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's still both physics, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
it's a more plain sight, more in plain sight, so it might be easily understandable by more people if that was the route we went. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's thinking about, too, like how they lit the inside of pyramids and castles was with open flame. If I decided to go get a torch and wrap it in something flammable and just stick it in a part of my wall, my house would burn down.
Well, that's why the altars would have an angle to them, so they wouldn't be.
Well, I mean, even if it was angled, my house would still burn down.
Well,
hey, man, that's why they say in the pyramids there's no soot or anything found. And I've even seen our boy Giorgio. He shows an example in the Great Pyramid where he tries to light a lighter and it won't light because there's not enough oxygen. He can still breathe, though, I guess. But I don't know that argument because he can still breathe. But yeah, that was displayed. Dude,
and why were there no windows in pyramids?
Because it's very functional. I mean, you look at it, it's very functional. Even the dimensions of all these shafts they seem to be perfect size to like resonate perfect, like certain frequencies and stuff. I don't know. It seems like a machine to me.
Sounds like a whole lot of more information we have to find out for exactly who built the pyramids. We talked about like how it was built. Where like there's more topics to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna know until somebody flies down here on their ship and they tell us.
One sooner rather than later, Tay. It's gonna happen.
I believe.
I do also believe. I also believe that if you have a hypothetical you want us to talk about or a thought that you'd like to share about today's episode, because we've asked you guys to share your thoughts, especially with this one, mainly about the doll hairs thing. You can shoot us an email at hybrothoughts@gmail.com. That's hybrothoughts@gmail.com. Also, head over to the Facebooks. Give us a like at facebook.com/hybrothetical thinking. And we're also on the Instagrams, also Hybrothetical Thinking. We post content every day there, highlights from the podcast and memes you can share with your friends to make you feel smarter than them, hopefully. And also, we have Patreon. We just launched it this week, so make sure you guys go check that out. It's patreon.com/hybrothetical thinking. It's still a new thing. We're learning about it. We want you guys to learn with us. And the more you contribute, the more we're able to go do crazy things like go to the Giza Pyramids. Yeah. Also, everybody, if you want to do the research, we're trying to get a sponsorship from Capri Sun.
Yeah.
Don't be upset. I mean, they're hard to get a hold of because they don't have a Twitter or an Instagram.
They're on the pulse.
They're on the pulse, and we've sent them an email. We're going to continue sending them emails, and if a few of you guys reach out as well and mention Hybrothetical Thinking, it's either going to end in a lawsuit or a sponsorship.
Both could possibly be a positive thing. So if it ends up being a lawsuit, hit up our Patreon account.
Oh, this is fun. This was a fun one. Episode 24. Next week is episode 25.
It's a milestone.
We're going to do something crazy.
Is that a silver episode? Is that what
no.
No, you're not going to host it. Is
Silver?
Silver?
Yeah, isn't that the silver anniversary? 25 years?
It is.
Tight.
And we're going to be together celebrating our 25th anniversary.
Oh, shit, we're going to be together.
We're going to be together in Edison, New Jersey.
Oh, Edison? Coincidence?
Oh.
Oh.
Weird.
Holy fuck.
It's crazy.
Weird.
And who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows where we're going to be? There's a lot of really weird places nearby. Places like Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh
shit.
And places like the home of Lorraine Warren, which is from The Conjuring. So we're going to be in some deep territories. Who knows what's going to happen? It's episode 25. Who knows?
Yeah.
Nothing could happen.
Yeah, that's also a possibility.
The odds are high. But
wow.
We could just stay in and make it an early night, I guess.
We could. We could just drink some tea.
And talk about our feelings.
Maybe that's what we'll do.
We're going to live that con life, dude. Let's go see some crazy shit.
I love it.
Cool.
Sign me up. Well, Taylor, thank you for the enlightening episode.
Thank you.
I think for fucking everything up that I've been taught previously about the pyramids is wrong.
You were taught lies.
Everything's a lie, Johnny.
Wow.
The world is a lie.
Wow.
and that's what everyone should leave every episode of our podcast understanding. Is everything is a lie.
The world is a lie. Illuminati confirmed.
Depressing thoughts.
Owls everywhere.
Owls. Anyway, so we've been your hosts. I am, and hopefully always will be, in my own realm, Nick.
In this realm and or the next, I will be Taylor.
I'm Johnny.
And unfortunately, he'll always be Johnny.
Always.
Very fortunately, I'll be Johnny.
All right. And maybe he'll be replaced one day and it'll be someone new.
Yeah, like an owl.
Guys, you can make that happen for $100 on our Patreon. Every month you pay is a month without Johnny on the podcast.
Is that worth it?
Yeah,
Yep, 4
no, that's
episodes.
a lot of money. How about every $500 is 5 minutes that Johnny can't talk?
Oh, shit. You guys have to ask me questions that I can't respond?
Yeah.
Can't respond.
That's
You
pretty
respond only
What?
via our Instagram account.
all of the
Facebook Live.
all the Patreon like rewards is just like me having problems.
Yeah. It's just Johnny. And then if you pay the $500 a month, Johnny won't talk for 5 minutes per person. It pays the $500. And then he'll also end every episode reading things that you send him
Oh,
to read.
no.
From those 5 people. Hey, and if you are ballsy enough to catch us in New Jersey, we're not doing a panel or anything. We're just going to be there being cool as fuck. But
Yeah.
if you're ballsy enough, come up and slap Johnny in the face.
No, don't do that.
I will give you $500 if you slap Johnny in the face.
Doll hairs?
Doll hairs.
Ah, you said
to
doll
be No, for real. Come say hi to us in Jersey if you're there. If you guys are listening in Jersey, come hang out at the Heroes and Villains Fan Fest in Edison, New Jersey. We'll be wandering around. Say hello and let us know what you think of the cast. If you hate us, hate it, or us. I mean, I guess you could tell us. We'll just lose sleep at night.
Keep it away from me. I don't want to know.
Yeah, we try to stay positive. Anyway, okay. Well,
Bye.
it was.
Bye. Bye.
We're gonna
Bye.
We're gonna get better at outros eventually.
We'll have an outro
No.
eventually.
Nope.
Bye.
Bye.